Welcome to the I-80 Club, I-80 Live on this Tuesday. And Jack, one weekend, this is why we renamed it, because now we can just say I-80 Live and nobody knows what night it is, unless they're here with us live. How are you?
And we got the pink in the in the thing, like our old After Dark show after football games. So that's nice too. Let's go. Let's go.
Welcome in, everybody. We appreciate you joining us. If you're watching or listening live, of course, you are a patron. Listening after the fact, you might not be a patron. We would love to have you. By the way, if you're listening to this after Tuesday night at 9 o'clock Central Time, John Cook's interview with the boys from Volleyball State is available on the I-80 Club YouTube channel or wherever you get your podcast. And for those of you who are hanging out live, that is going to go up immediately following us. That will be available at 9 o'clock. It is an hour. They sat down, Jack, for an hour with John Cook to talk about his career. This is incredible.
I only got like 15, 20 minutes on my radio show. Sad. I would like to point out they are the second broadcast interview of any sort with John Cook. I did get the first. I was involved with both, but nonetheless.
Not to brag.
No, not to brag whatsoever.
Brag.
Yeah, no, I'm sure I haven't. I heard the first about 10 minutes of it. But yeah, what, Josh? Again, we can say it again. It was a week ago tonight, wasn't it?
We go tomorrow night. Not even a weekend now.
We go tomorrow. Yeah, it was Wednesday. We go Wednesday.
Yeah,
where we introduced Volleyball State as part of the I-80 Club, and. Yep. Man, and they are blowing up right now. So yes. John Cook. So do a doubleheader tonight if you're up for more content.
Yes, absolutely. It'll go up at 9 o'clock. Some housekeeping for Josh Delo if he's out there right now. Housekeeping. There, we got all of their podcast feed stuff figured out. So moving forward, everyone in here, you're a patron. You have access to the raw feed or the Patreon RSS feed. We will upload the entire podcast in there for patrons just so you have them. But we would like to redirect you, if you are not a patron, over to the Volleyball State feed, because in the I-80 Club free feed, Jack, we'll just have like a little 5-minute snippet. So if you want to hear the full interview, go over to the Volleyball State feed. We link it in all the show notes and everything like that. So go check it out there. We've been having a lot of conversations with Jeff and Lincoln.
Jeff and Lincoln.
Jeff and Lincoln.
Lincoln and Jeff.
Lincoln and Jeff. And we are certainly going to be doing more stuff. They're very excited for the Patreon component. So stay tuned for more details on that as we lock down everything that we're going to be doing. But yeah, super cool. The last week has been wild. And then they land the greatest coach of all time. So pretty awesome way to kick off our relationship with Volleyball State inside of that.
It's crazy. It was crazy, obviously, 6 days ago, but even more today. As all of this happens, we're debuting. The second broadcast interview. I mean, who could have gotten the first, but the second broadcast interview, amazing, with John Cook. It's super cool, and I'm super thrilled to have them with us. So, and we are working on so many. Man, we are working on so many cool things with them for the summer and then the season. And man, I don't know how much we can even talk about, but yeah, there's just a lot of stuff we're working on with them to collaborate. And next fall, the I-80 Club is going to be just like lit to the gills. Can you imagine? Can you freaking imagine next fall?
No,
Josh,
I literally cannot, because Jack, I made the graphic today of all of the things that we have coming up inside of the I-80 Club over the course of the next week. And it was like, wow, this is a lot of things. I'll post it on the screen right now just so everyone can see, like, wow, that's a lot of things that the I-80 Club has coming up over the next few days. And Jack, once we get to next football season, the font is going to have to be tiny. It's going to have to be very, very tiny font. We have so many things. We have I-80 Live right now. You're watching it. We have Volleyball State tonight. We're doing a Nebraska basketball watch party tomorrow with you and Caleb whispering in his living room, "Go Skurs, go Skurs."
First time since the Creighton game.
Yeah, and we all remember what happened there. The brunch show, of course, on Friday. Saturday morning coffee. We'll do an NFL Super Bowl preview, Shafe and I, on Sunday. And then after Nebrasketball, that afternoon before the Super Bowl as well. That's all over the next 5 days. Good God. We have so many things.
Imagine on a big Husker football weekend or week, with the game coming up and a volleyball week. I mean, holy crap. Holy crap.
Yeah.
Like, just make sure you tell everyone to get in on whatever subscription they're interested in. We are going to have those out for you probably within the next couple of weeks to show you what options are available to get volleyball state premium content. There'll be plenty of free content if you just want to go that way. But if you do, they're going to add a lot. They're going to be able to do a lot of things they haven't been able to do so far with some premium content and with the support of subscribers. So, I'm freaking pumped. It's going to be great. It's going to be really awesome. So,
So all that stuff is coming up as we move on forward.
And watch party tomorrow night for Washington. So if you want to stay up late, this is the after Nebrasketball cruise. So it is me and Bigelow and Caleb doing a watch party. Like, I don't know if Bigelow's or Caleb, but especially Bigelow's going to get a word in edgewise with me reacting to everything. Like, I have no idea what's going to happen with this. This will be fascinating, Josh. Very fascinating.
Yeah, and so that'll start tomorrow night at 9:30-ish. 9:30-ish when the game gets going.
It will not, I will tell you this, it will not be quite as festive as the Creighton game because I am working.
You don't want some beer, Jack?
I mean, I might.
All of them? All four?
No, thank you. I will have to work the next morning.
Oh, who cares?
I have to work the next morning.
A 12-hour day now.
And then I am taking my mom on a son-mom day to Andrea Bocelli in Omaha that evening afterwards. So,
wow, you're gonna be so sleepy. You're gonna be just the most tired person.
I'm a little overcommitted right now in life.
I was gonna say, how are we feeling 2 days into the new life? I'll ask you again when we stop recording.
Ask me again a little bit later.
Yeah.
Right now, it's
Connor says, I'll take it. Josh, I'll drink for Jack. No, those are actually the One Beer Friday beers for Friday's Grum. So I'll be bringing those. Sorry, Connor, I would.
You all can. I'm not going to, but you all can.
Stibbs, you're going to pass out so hard at the, what is it, Bocelli? Is that
Bocelli?
Bocelli concert?
Is it Borkature concert?
I know, yeah. Is that
it's not.
Yeah. Adam, LOL, that's a face of regret. Yeah, I asked Jack. Now, look, Jack's brain is fried, so I'm not going to be critical of him. I texted Jack last night, hey, how did the show go? Jack never even told me how the show went. We've talked about other things since then. He never responded to my, hey, how did the show go? Me trying to be a good friend.
I was asleep when I got that. Yeah. I woke up and saw it at 4:30.
Yeah.
I didn't think you wanted me to text you then.
My phone is on silent. I don't care.
Oh, okay. Well, I could have.
Yeah.
So, Where are we going to dinner? Oh, let me check.
Block 16?
No, it was based on recommendations from
Is it a fancy
the
place?
I-80 Club. I got to look it up, though, because I made a reservation
Is it the pizza place?
In November. Let's see. Pizza Hut. Let's see.
Valentino's.
No, I'm just kidding. Let's see where.
801 Chop House.
Avoli Osteria.
Oh, that's what Keena just guessed. Avoli,
yes.
look.
I think Keena might have recommended. I can't remember, but there were multiple people. So we're going to Avoli tomorrow. So if you're hanging out there, if you're like an Avoli Wednesday night type person,
dude, that's right by the Grum. Jack, you want to stop by and do a live hit before you go to the
with my mom?
Yeah.
Let's see, what time is my reservation here? I'm gonna hit happy hour. Let's see. Oh, we have a 5:45 reservation.
Stop by, do a little happy hour. The happy hour's on the air with Jack Mitchell
and my mom.
Matt says, how's it going lining up interview guests for every show? That's a good question. Is this another question for off the air later?
I have the full week. This week is set. So
there we go. Awesome.
Honestly, that's not. I thought that was the thing that stressed me out the most and was going to be the worst. So I mean, it's only 2 shows in, so I might change. But
yeah.
The
is it the 100 topics in 10 minutes? Is that
the 25-minute monologue is hard. Is harder than I expected. So
yeah. Well, I'm sure it's going great. I look forward to checking it out.
It's going okay.
Okay, there you go. Well, it'll be awesome.
2 shows in. It's 2 shows in.
There we go.
The interviews have all been good.
Yeah, I-80 Club sucked 2 shows in, many would say. But now look at us. We're doing watch parties, and we have volleyball state. So things are going absolutely awesome.
Keena, I'm sure the YouTube chat would have lots of not unhinged questions for my mom.
Excellent point, Keena. Excellent point. The YouTube chat can get a little bit wild. Connor says, listen today on the way home, Jack. I thought the format was good.
I'm glad. I think if I executed, I think it would be very good. I don't know that I executed it very well. So, but nonetheless.
Yep.
I would ask
totally normal questions. Yep. I worked with Stibbs. Stibbs would often talk to women when they called into the show, and he would say sup. And those were his totally normal questions. Normal questions. All right, Jack. How are we feeling? What is the vibe of Jack Mitchell right now besides working all the time? Is it Nebraska basketball being 2-0 in their last two? And
I feel a little
around?
Yeah, like if I get rid of all of the riffraff of like actual life and work, it is potentially thinking February has been rescued. Maybe.
Yeah.
Like that win against I don't know if I celebrated that win against Oregon enough based on how big it was. Like that was it was unbelievably just freaking gigantic.
Yeah.
Just gigantic. And to have them go back and look like they look good in a way that they haven't for weeks. Go back and look like some of their best players did last year when they were at their best. And then just to freaking have an answer every time, like answer. Every time it looked like Oregon. Oh, here we go.
I know.
Here we freaking go. And every freaking time they went down and found an answer. So
it was almost like the stepbrother, Jack, of the previous game where like the Illinois game got really scary, like tie game scary, overtime scary. Whereas the Oregon game, there were a few moments where it got close, and then they would score,
maybe.
They score a couple of baskets, and suddenly it's
found a basket, didn't they?
Yeah. Well, and then the only really scary part was that there were again some missed free throws in the second half, and you're like, not again. But then when they had to, when it turned into a free throw contest for the last 2 minutes, they made 7 in a row? Is that what it was to finish the basketball game? It was over. They got out of Dodge. They pick up the win that none of us saw coming, and they're suddenly 2-0, second straight road win, and in theory, the much easier game now is tomorrow versus going into tomorrow saying, oh, my gosh, they have to win this to salvage this road trip. They don't want to throw it away, yada, yada, yada.
Yeah. I mean, Nebraska's Bart Torvik has them at 40 now. It's put them in a place now where I think they're either in or just out, according to most bracketologists after that win.
Yeah.
And I think based on I think they would be in. That's a hard exercise to do because the season obviously doesn't end now, but I think they'd be in. But yeah, you look at and you just posted the rest of the schedule.
Look at all those games, Jack, that are in theory decided by 3 points or fewer.
I know it's going to be wild.
The next 6 games: Nebraska by 2.9, Nebraska by 2.3, Maryland by 1.6, Northwestern by 1.3, Penn State by 0.7, Michigan by 0.9. Think about that. Like, oh my gosh, those are some coin freaking flip games.
Yep.
And if Nebraska can go, what do they got? I know you've divided up the rest of the season. I'd be curious as to where you would have these games, in terms of the what did you say, like the because I think now they have played. What was the category that you said, like not a chance or not expecting it? Oregon was in that category.
Oregon at Wisconsin, both.
So those games are already in the rear view. So now,
but you got Oregon. You ended up getting them. So
yeah, exactly.
They replace. Yeah, I don't. It's hard. I need to find it there, but I mean the bottom line for me is 20 wins is where I think they need to be at the end of the year. So that if you take a look at where they're at now, so that got them 4-9, is that right? 4-9. Am I at the right? Let's see. I got to pull it up so I have the number actually right.
4-7.
Of just 4-7. Sorry, 4-7 with 11 games played. So 9 games left is what I was thinking of. So you got to go 6. You still got to go 6-3 to get to that point.
Mm-hmm.
Got to go 6-3 in those games that you just posted.
Information says I think they get the rest at PBA in 2 of the 4 road games.
Okay, so if they do that, that would be 4 home games: Ohio State, Maryland, Michigan, and Iowa.
Mm-hmm.
And then you're right to go 6-3, they would have to get 2 of the 4.
Yep. And so you figure that one of those 4 is coming tomorrow. So then after that, you got to go 1-2 versus Northwestern, Penn State.
I'm sorry, there are 5 home games, so it'd be 5-0. So they would have to get they'd have to get 1 away game if they got all the home games.
Just 1. Wow, that
because there are 5 home games left.
Yeah. So if they were to get 5 home games and 1 road game, you're talking about
That'd be 20 wins. That'd be 20 wins and 10-10 in the conference.
That would get to that magic number that you've been talking about for a few weeks on this show and on the Brunch show.
I mean, they could get the road game. If they would get the Washington game, arguably they just have to hold serve at home after that.
Wow. Isn't that wild to think of how we were talking about them a week ago and how fast it could flip?
Right.
In theory, where, these games now, they still mean a lot, but it's not like as do or die as it was even a week ago.
Now, to be fair, that would be a win against Maryland and a win against Michigan.
2 top 20 teams. Yeah, according to Bart. Yeah. You're talking about multiple quad 1 wins. And that's like, we keep talking about this, and I think we mentioned it a little bit on Saturday's show, but I keep comparing them to the 17-18 team that had a lot of wins, but none of them were against good teams. And this team, in theory, is staring down the barrel at not as many wins, but the ones that they have being absolutely awesome. 4 wins over ranked teams, and I know that's not the end all. Is that how many quad 1 wins do they have? Is it 4 now, or is it 5?
I believe it's 4 and 5 now, I believe, is what it is.
Wow. So like that's a good amount, and they're going to have more opportunities. Washington will not be a quad 1 game. That'll be quad 2.
4 and 6. 4 and 6.
4 and 6. Ohio State, as of this moment, is quad 2 because they're just outside. Maryland would be quad 1. Northwestern would be quad 1. Penn State would be quad 1. Again, assuming they stay where they are. Michigan would be as well. Minnesota would be 2. Ohio State would be quad 1, and Iowa would be quad 2.
If they clip off a couple of those road wins, I mean, their quad 1 number is going to get so weirdly gaudy, to be honest. Assuming they don't change, that maybe 19 would be enough, but I don't know, man.
Information says is Rutgers a quad 3 loss now. Rutgers is 77th on Bart. What is that? Is a quad 3 now, isn't it? Because it was a home
Let
game.
me check.
Yeah, you gotta hope Rutgers. God, I don't mean to keep harping on this, and I promise that I'm not going to do this for the rest of the year. But God, Jack, it makes the Iowa, the Rutgers, and the USC losses just so freaking annoying. Hell, you could even
Rutgers
throw
and
Maryland
USC
in there.
especially.
Yeah,
I mean,
those games
so
were just nasty, nasty.
So much. Yeah, Rutgers is 2.
They're still a 2.
Yeah, that's it must be top 100 at home.
Okay, for some reason I thought it was top 70.
Rutgers is 2.
Okay.
The only because they haven't lost a 3. They're unbeaten in 3 and 4.
Okay,
and
so you need them to hang out in that area still. Then
and Oregon State, well, it looks like they're a little further away. For a while, Oregon State looked like that could become a quad 1 game from Hawaii
because it was a neutral site game.
Yeah,
interesting.
So, I'm curious. Did you watch the Oregon game or not?
Oh yeah, of course. What do you mean? Of course I watched it.
Okay, stop.
What do we do? What are we doing here? Come on now. It's my job, Jack. I gotta watch the games.
Is it? I don't know.
Yes, we talk about them for like a segment sometimes.
All right. Well, I'm just curious what you thought, what your take was as obviously a different perspective than I have,
different observer
on kind of what they looked like in that game and what your impression was of that game compared to what maybe you saw during the losing streak.
I continue to go back to what you have said, especially in the last 2 shows. And I was listening to After Nebrasketball yesterday when I was going for my run, and you talked about the way that certain players, and you keep talking about Gary and Williams and how different they looked. And in particular, who are you mainly talking about? You're talking about Bryce, right? Where how different he looked for that stretch of basketball in the losing streak and how different he looks now. And I think that is the thing that stood out to me yet again, like it did in the win over Illinois, of where was this team? Because this is not the team that we watched for 6 games. It just looks so different. They were attacking. I thought their passing was excellent. I think at one point the announcer said, it's like, wow, it's like there's 7 players on the floor right now on defense. They're just moving. They're flying around. They're making plays. And I don't want it to just turn into like an effort conversation. But God, I mean, people were asking, are they quitting? Or should we talk about the Q word? Where was this type of play in some of those losses? Basically in all of the blowouts. Yeah, Matt says it 100% right. This has been a season of 2 different teams. In a few of the losses, they look horrible.
Yeah,
in a few of the other losses, it's like, wow, where was the effort that we saw otherwise? When they win, like they have the last 2 games, it's like, this is the team that I was buying into a month ago before the wheels came off.
It's crazy. Yeah, you're 100% right. And I don't know. I still can't get over the thought that there was something. I don't know whether it was an injury, a physical injury, or something that was there during that time that was not at least as much there since Illinois and Oregon. And mostly because of Price, because damn it, Josh, he went from a potential all Big Ten player to a liability on the floor to, again, now a national player of the week again.
Yeah.
What in the world?
Yeah, when you guys did the post-game show after Wisconsin, I think that was the lowest that you have been this year. Am I reading that right? It's the six of 6 in a row. They lose by 28.
Another blowout.
Yeah, what was it? 19-2 or 17-2. And like you were discussing that. You were discussing like it's a liability when he is playing basketball. And obviously it's not the last 2 games. So what the hell happened? It's so strange.
This is 3 weeks.
This has been it was
after
really
the Iowa game up till the Illinois game.
Matt, was there a virus ravaging the team? BTN, maybe Bryce was going through a bad breakup. You know, like
I have no
the
idea,
fact that
man.
there are all these theories and we're like, that's an interesting question. You know, says a lot about where they've been.
Because he was passive. He didn't want the ball.
Mm-hmm.
And then last night in overtime against Illinois, you saw it, Josh. He took over.
Yeah.
He single-handedly won that game in overtime against Illinois. And then last night, or what was it? Sunday. 2 nights ago.
Yeah.
Sunday night, he was obviously so good that he had national pundits realizing it and getting that huge award. So I don't know, man, but that is the key. In my opinion, we can talk about all of the different keys and the things that Nebraska did well for a while and did putrid for a while. But to me, if Bryce and Juwan play, obviously play with energy and passion, but also play to their strengths and the roles that are right for them, I think everything kind of branches off from that in terms of what works.
Mm-hmm.
But that is the nucleus. They're the nucleus of this team for sure. And if they can keep doing that, they've got a good shot of getting to the tournament. I don't know why it stopped before, though. And I don't know, because of that, I don't know if it will stop again, right? If there'll be issues again with them.
Yeah.
But that was vintage, what we saw on Sunday from both of them. Juwan Gary was the guy he is supposed to be, right? He was cutting toward the hoop. He was getting fouled. He was getting difficult rebounds. He was playing defense. He was getting blocks. He was playing bigger than he is. He was not initiating offense, and he was not shooting a lot of threes, although he did make one at the end. Bryce Williams was the one initiating scoring. He was not bashful about taking shots. He was getting to the free throw line also. That he was getting the team out on transition for the first time.
Yeah.
It feels like you've hardly seen that. And so they were all doing the opposite. When the team sucked, Juwan Garrett was trying to initiate the entire offense. He was trying to force drives, force three-pointers, and Bryce was just kind of passively passing the ball. They both were playing off of their strengths. And if this team plays to their strengths, they're not an elite, incredible team. They're not going to win the Big Ten. But I do think they're a tournament team if they play to their strengths.
Yeah, for sure. Well, Matt said it a few minutes ago, their ceiling is winning a tournament game. Their floor is not making the Big Ten tournament. I think that's true.
I don't disagree with that.
For a spell, it looked like they might miss the NCAA or the Big Ten tournament. The other thing, too, that I like about the last 2 games is that they, and maybe this is just really weird, glass half full, but like they did have to deal with adversity. Like they almost threw away the Illinois game, and that just would have been, that would have been an all-timer. Given that it would have been the 7th straight loss. They go to overtime and they survive and they get away with it. And then as we talked about at the start of this conversation, the Oregon game, they lead essentially the entire time again, but it gets close and they're able to stiff arm them every single moment when it gets within, like you said, 4 points. And I like that. I like that they have had these spots inside these games where things go against them, maybe some bad calls. And, they're able to survive and get out.
I remember saying after they beat UCLA, I was just like, this is who this team is, right? They were super experienced. Juwan and Bryce are super experienced. They don't panic.
Yeah.
That's how I felt after UCLA. Like, they just end up being the better team because they're experienced and they're cool and calm in the moment. And then they went for 3 weeks and made me look like a complete dumbass for saying that.
Yep.
And then it came back and they did it again.
Yeah.
I don't have a great explanation. They've just got to, if they do what they can do, they're going to be in the tournament.
Yeah.
I think that's as simple as I can put it.
So that's the question. Can they do this? Can they be consistent?
Can they keep going? And Washington's huge, right? And it's also one where it's kind of I think they had motivational problems against Rutgers and USC because it wasn't, hey, we can pull 100%. Off a huge upset.
It's not a brand, it's not a name team, and Washington is also that. And again, don't forget, watch party coming up tomorrow night at 9:30. Huss writes, Jack, the joy I feel from Nebraska basketball being moderately good is directly offset by the crappiness I feel from all the basketball content I then have to endure. People would like us to talk about
We can talk about football. Let's switch.
Mike Ekeler, finally. There was some concern, Jack. And when I say finally, I'm talking about the hiring, not that you and I are finally talking football. There was some concern in the football channel in recent days. Huss says, I'm back, baby. Here we go. The football folks. Stumanji, hop on in here. We know you want to hear football, but don't post that picture of him, Adam. It might get him canceled. Jack, there was some conversation after Matt Rhule's press conference on Saturday and some of the things that he said, because they were completely different from how Matt Rhule was speaking about the team after the win over Boston College, when he was like, it has to, what was the complete house cleaning? What was the way that he said it? A complete and total overhaul. Is that what it was? And it was like, wow, he's going to go hard in the paint. And then he was like, I don't know. Yeah, we just maybe, I don't know. And so there was some concern. Stumanji is here now. There was some concern. Jack, that like, oh no, are they running it back with Foley? Foley is still on the website. They're not making any changes. This is going to be real depressing. And then like 2 days later, it's Ekeler. So there you go. It's Mike Ekeler. One of the things, Jack, that I'd heard like right around the time that it was announced was that the reason for the hang-up was something with Ekeler's contract and that lasting until February or not allowed to do anything.
Okay.
So that's why this took so long, not because Rhule was debating, should I keep Ed Foley?
I was wondering, like, it didn't really make any sense because you were like, okay, well, everybody's done playing now at this point, and you still don't have anyone. So I wondered that for sure.
Yeah.
And there are no more NFL teams playing, right?
Correct. Yeah. Well, there's the Super Bowl on Sunday, but otherwise, yes, there's one left. Right. Huss asked a good question. Is he a consensus home run hire? Feels like it to me. Do you think Ekeler is a home run hire, Jack?
I
don't mean to talk about coaches. I apologize to you, Jack.
No. Well, it's actually one who I know a lot about, so I do enjoy that.
Yeah.
I mean, I just don't like trying to speculate on guys I know nothing about.
Yeah.
It is so hard for me to because in terms of numbers, like he's done great as a special teams coach at the place. Have you looked at the numbers, Josh?
Yes.
Like some of them, like
Michael filled in today for John and we went through them. And I mean, it's pretty wild how much better his special teams.
Yeah. Tell people what they are. Yeah.
Well,
just summarize them.
And Dave just posted something from Twitter. Essentially, the number of yards that they got on returns, on punt returns, they basically, in the same number of games, they have like double the actual return attempts, and it's like quadruple or quintuple the number of yards. So like, not only are they actually catching the ball and then running with the ball, but when they do, they gain many, many yards. I can't remember the exact stat, but it's either they block a lot of kicks or they have not allowed to block, or maybe a combination of the two. I mean, they have done, they were top 20 in Bill Connolly's SP Plus on special teams this year. For the if you're wondering, hey, what was Nebraska's? Like 130.
199,000.
Yeah, if you add in the FCS teams, then Nebraska, is maybe kind of good. But in all seriousness, like they're a top 20 special teams. Nebraska is one of the worst in the entire country. So they've done a really good job. Now, I imagine a lot of people are wondering how much of that is the talent level that is at Washington versus how much of it's the talent level that Nebraska has. Obviously, it's going to be a combination of the two, but we can say definitively that he has a very good scheme, or a scheme that is at the minimum much, 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 much better than Nebraska. Much better than Nebraska.
So here are my thoughts. I think that all that's right. And I am on balance, definitely excited about this compared to where they've been. Ekeler's got the numbers you just pointed out. Ekeler has got the experience as a player, sort of having that mentality of being a special teams guy, which we talked about. That was when he kind of got a national reputation at K-State as a player for being just a guy you had to watch on special teams because he made plays on special teams. And I don't take that super lightly in this whole thing, right?
No, for sure.
Like, I think that mentality and experience and being able to, instead of just, because Josh, doesn't it just look like everyone who is playing special teams is, when Nebraska has struggled, is just kind of going through the motions a little bit, right?
Yeah. Doing the bare minimum.
Just the bare minimum. And that's completely antithetical to what he was as a player. So I think, man, I can't imagine. I mean, it obviously has to get better. It has to get better, but this is it's a good hire. I'll say this. Here's my issue. I just wish
the interview you did with them that one time.
I wish I could divorce the weirdness.
I know. But that's, you know what, Jack, that's a part of what makes him him.
Maybe.
If you're going to be a special teams crazy person, you got to be a crazy person.
Here's a question. Was the consensus he was coaching takes from you guys? Was the consensus was that he was a good linebackers coach when he was here with Bo?
Man, see, it's funny you asked that because there was a comment a couple moments ago from Bruce. Not mad that we hired him at all now. Not sure we should have hired him in 2008, but if we don't, where is he now? Yeah, Jack, that was like the Bo era. It was the early Bo era. I know that there were a lot of critiques with some of the early Bo staffing moves, like bringing in Papuchis as the defensive line coach or whatever he was, even though he had just been a GA. So I don't really remember. I mean, his first year. What's that? Is everything okay?
No, good. Emily, you can't see this very well.
Yeah.
Emily Eamon just liked the I-80 Club's tweet.
Oh, look at us.
As in the volleyball, BTN volleyball person.
Go check it out, Emily. We think you're going to enjoy it. But so the early years, so I believe he would have been there 08 to 10. So, I mean, you have Philip Dillard completely surprising a lot of us in 2008. I don't remember the 2000, or was he the guy in 2009? 2010 would have been Levante David, and then he would have left. So, I don't really recall exactly how good we considered him versus. I mean, they had Ndamukong Suh and Jared Crick. I don't know how good were the linebackers. They had Ndamukong Suh and Jared Crick in front of them. Right. I don't know.
I mean, they were good defenses, obviously.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, Matt says I heard he didn't get along with Carl. Well, that makes many people that wouldn't have gotten along with Carl. But here, look, a couple more stats for you, Jack. Day fight. They averaged 16 yards a punt return. Nebraska hasn't had a punt return over 16 yards in the last 32 games. All right, that's pretty wild. How about this one from where was it at? Bruce Ekeler had allowed one block kick in the last 4 years. Nebraska allowed 10 last year. So, when you compare it to what Nebraska was, they will obviously be better. The question is how much better. That's the question that we're talking.
And then here's my other point about it. So, with apart from all of that, in terms of who he is just I still do wonder how much of Nebraska's special teams issues have been due to scheme / coaching.
Yep.
And how much has been due to a lack of ability to recruit good specialists. Again, if you don't have
what Rhule talked about the other day.
If you don't have a long snapper, what in the hell is Mike Ekeler going to do about that?
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, because that is such a basic, simple thing.
2 years ago, if you don't have anyone with enough experience to return punts and know how to gauge whether to field it or let it go or return it, what the hell is Mike Ekeler going to do?
Yeah,
right.
These are such specific skills. Snapping the ball to a punter or to a holder. Knowing, like you said, judging a ball in the air and then the players coming towards you.
I feel like there are two things going on. I feel like there obviously are schematic coaching problems, but there are also, it's been the terribleness has been a confluence of bad coaching scheme and just not having the right guys at specialist positions that you can't just coach up. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. But is it also about the identification of those players coming out of high school and or the portal?
Maybe.
You know?
And but I don't know how they do special teams recruiting and like identifying talent. Like that actually would be an interesting question, right?
Yeah.
Like, how did they do it the last few years? Like, how do you scout a long snapper, to be honest?
Yeah.
I mean, they got that transfer from Florida 2 years ago.
Yeah.
And that was fine. I mean,
and they just got another one. They just got another, long snapper out of the portal.
And they got the kid from New Hampshire, right?
Matt, to answer your question, watch people snap. It's a great question.
I would think so, right?
Yeah. So how are they so bad at it?
I mean, I would think recruiting kickers would also be easy. Like, if they did really well kicking in high school, they should be pretty good, I would think.
Yeah.
But
isn't it crazy? Like, I know everybody is like, back when they were good and winning titles, they were great on the offensive line. It's like, yeah, spare me. Like, obviously they were good on the offensive line. Like, even Jack in the early Bo era, they were still really good on special teams. They had like competent kickers, competent punters. Like, the tire fire of Nebraska special teams in the last decade, it's like hard to describe how bad it's been. Is the last like truly great punter? Is it Sam Foltz? Sadly, like he is the last truly great, consistent punter. Because Buschini was good, but man, Buschini was also really bad sometimes.
Yeah.
So Foltz is the last great punter. Who's the last truly good to great kicker? How long has it been since? Because Bruce mentions Alex Henry. They've had other kickers since then, but who is the last actual kicker where they lined up and you always thought, yep, I believe in this entire operation and situation that is about to unfold?
Drew Brown?
Drew Brown was going to be the name that I came up with as well, and that's what Dave says is also. Yeah, I think Drew Brown is the answer. It's like we're talking about years now. Years since they had even the normal shit.
I don't believe that's coaching, right? I don't believe that's Ed Foley's fault for not coaching up the kicker. I don't believe Mike Ekeler could have fixed the kickers this year, right?
Yeah. Unless, again, the patient zero is the initial recruitment of the kickers, and they're going to do a better job.
Yeah, and that's my point, right? Yeah. Like, who's doing the talent evaluation? Who's doing the recruiting? Who's figuring out who to get and making sure they get here in the way that you're doing with seemingly every other position? What, like, that's obviously struggled too, and that is not necessarily just on the special teams coach, I don't think. But I don't know who it's on exactly.
Mark says, would you rather Bruce Reed or Foley? That's an easy one for me, man. Give me Bruce Reed any day over Ed Foley.
Oh, yeah, they were way better.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, the Bruce Reed era in the moment, it's like they were being compared to what had been like this great run of special teams. In hindsight, like that was so much better than what
they had DPE running punts back.
Yeah, seriously. Yeah, they actually had a returner at times.
But that's a different, right? They had a returner.
Yeah.
Yes.
I mean, I just posted because Jordan says Caleb Lightbourne was something. And I posted the onside kick attempt versus Ohio State. Like, Jack, what are we talking about? He completely missed how you missed the football when you're trying to kick off the football. That's like when you go to the golf course with somebody and they just completely whiff on the ball, and it's like, oh boy, this might be a long day. He did that, but he's a college kicker. I'm just a guy who sucks at golf.
Right. Again, how did you – but and again, the thing is you can go back through multiple coaching staff. Scott Frost had the year where they had no kicker on the team.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. 2019 was hysterical in terms of how bad it was.
They had to get Matt Waldock off the whatever club soccer team or whatever it was.
Yeah. They were holding tryouts in September or whatever.
They had to bring Lane McCallum, the Air Force transfer, was a safety.
Horrible.
Like, why do they always – they've found themselves like that with one special teams position pretty much every year for almost 7 years. Whether it's kicker, snapper, punter, or returner, they haven't had anyone in the roster that can do it.
Yeah.
How does that happen?
Excellent question. Matt, sometimes this university pisses me off so much. Okay, back to basketball. No, we'll stay with football. But yes, it is annoying. And I-Formation posts something too. He says, it's a two-parter.
And he
says
knows a ton about special teams.
Yeah, he says the problem with kickers is that a lot of reps are done off of sticks and not live snap and hold. So somebody with a big leg shows well off sticks, gets a spot, and then isn't as successful with a live snap and hold. But then he adds, which is what made Tristan Albano struggle so odd, because he kicked so well off the ground with live snaps holds in high school. His performance was absurd. Yeah, the Albano experience was very annoying to me, Jack, from this. I mean, obviously the failures was like a bummer. But I hated the way that it was like, Matt Rhule only offered him because he made one kick at the state championship. It's like, that's a massive kick, and he drilled it. Like, what are we talking about here? 50-something yards in that stadium
good
to win the state championship. He was a good kicker. How does that not translate to the next level? I mean, I guess one quick thing would be like, well, Josh, in that game there were 5,000 people, and now he's playing in front of 85,000. And maybe that's the answer. But if you would have, of all the players that they have signed in recent years, if you would have asked me to say, who do you think is going to be best in college at their job? He would have been near the top for me. If I were to rank every position player signing that they have, he would have been number one. I would have been like, yeah, that guy's going to be awesome in college because he was awesome in high school.
Right.
Guess not. Yeah, and then Jordan Adams, plus he's injured. Yeah, and then he was hurt. What are we talking about?
Right.
Come on.
For sure. Yeah.
Not great.
I was trying to find his stats. He was
Tristan?
Yeah, I can get his whole year. Let's see. Oh, this is a mess. Max Preps is not ready for this. 15 for 28 for his for field goals for his career.
Long Nebraska?
Long was 49.
Yikes.
Extra points, he was 119 for 120. No. At West Side.
Oh, so that's actually not as good as I thought he was. All right.
Yeah.
Never mind.
But that was career. 119 for 120 extra points.
Wait, and it says Long was 48, but it's in the state championship. Didn't he hit like a 50-something yarder? That's weird.
That wasn't over 50, was it?
I thought it was.
No, I don't think it was over 50.
G-Shram says it was also weird they never said what the injury was. It sucks now that it's February and I've kind of flushed.
I thought it was a groin injury.
That's what I thought it was too.
I heard that. No, I remember hearing that a while ago. Yeah.
I can't remember. I couldn't remember for sure. Yeah, day fight. Albano's kick for Westside is one of the longest in the history of Memorial Stadium. I could have sworn it was like 53, 54, 55, 56.
Really?
Somewhere in there. Yeah, I thought so.
Okay.
Yeah, I could be wrong. Somebody will post it in a moment, I'm sure. So, yeah. Yeah, Matt says I think it was. DZ, kicker issues are all in their heads. Yeah, my dad was a kicker in high school. He was solid. He made a 40-something yarder one time to win a football game. So, he watches them, and when he has an opinion, I can, I'm going to listen to him. He talks about that all the time, just like how you have to be able to flush it. Because if not, you turn it into a head case. And that's what happened with Alex Henry in the pros. Alex Henry was awesome at college, went to Philadelphia. I mean, he was out of the league within a few years because he just went to shit.
45-yard field goal. Okay, I knew it. What are we talking about? Longest in Memorial Stadium history.
What?
45. It was a 45-yarder.
To win the state championship?
Yes. I mean, I can post it if you guys don't believe me.
Yeah, Matt just posted the video.
It was 45 yards.
Only 45 yards?
I didn't know what you guys were talking about.
This is
it was
it
was clutch, but it
championship. How you thought it was like the coldest day of all time and it was like 30 degrees. Yeah, I'm watching the kick right now.
I mean, I remember it was super clutch, but you guys were all like, "Oh, one of the longest ever." I don't remember that part of it. It was long for a high school.
Yeah, you're right. It was only 45. Wow. Okay. Well, never mind.
Maybe earlier in the game, apparently.
Oh, he had a 55-yarder earlier in the game.
Okay, that's what you're talking about.
Thank you.
That helps.
Thank you.
But he did not hit 45 for that final one, which was his most obviously.
Yeah.
The one in arguably who got him. A bunch of attention from Nebraska and colleges. So,
yep. He did go to Nebraska, and he has not been very good. All this to say, it's a great question, Jack. How can Ekeler help with these types of things?
Yes. Yeah, back to the point. Yes.
Yeah. How can Ekeler help with these types of things? And that's an excellent question. It's an excellent question. So that'll be. Is that like? Let me ask you this, because I've been trying to think. I'm trying not to force any Husker football topics right now, and I think that's mostly been fine. I think people are responding to that. Let me ask you this, though, because I've been trying to figure out the answer myself. What's the biggest topic? What's the biggest question that is surrounding this team in spring ball? Like, once we get past all of they're not going to have a spring game. Things are weird now. Like, what's the question that is the front of mind for everybody when we get into the next month and they start practicing again?
I mean, it will be, right or wrong, is Dylan Raiola taking the step from okay as a freshman to very, very good. Then number 2 is, what do the new skill position players look like? Probably
the wide receivers.
Mm-hmm.
You think people are going to feel like they were burnt last year, so they're not going to buy into the wide receiver improvement if it happens in the spring? Or do you think people are going to be willing to grasp that with open arms?
Yeah, I think that'll be hard. I think they'll believe it more if it's Ja'Cory Barney, because they've seen him do it. And not that Key hasn't done it at Kentucky, but yeah, I think that's probably true, because I watched that first one. I was like, God, Nior is going to be a problem for everyone.
I know. And he stunk. He was a problem for Nebraska.
Yeah.
Remember the drop, Jack? Remember the drop against Iowa?
I do.
Yeah, that was bad.
I remember that.
Really bad.
So that's a good question. I don't know. And that's the problem with spring ball. And there's no spring game anyway, which we haven't even, we should hit that at the end here, but nobody's going to get that moment to sort of evaluate these guys, which is going to be interesting, because that, I think everyone takes it with a grain of salt, but it also defines a lot of the conversation in the summer.
That is a good point, even though we're all like, this is stupid and I don't really care. And yet by the end of it, we're like, oh, hey, how about that throw from Dylan Raiola? That's pretty cool. Let's talk about that for the next months.
How much more excited were people about Raiola after that than if they hadn't seen the spring game last year? Right?
Yeah, they were definitely more excited.
Like the Jalen Lloyd bomb and the 2-point conversion that was in that game. I think that got everyone fired up to a new level about him. And I think Naor, like we were talking about, Ja'Cory Barney too, which that one actually, stuck and was right.
Yeah. Adam says, I think it comes down to assistant coaches. If they perform, it doesn't matter what the players do. More assistant talk. Jack, it's what our subscribers of the I-80 Club demand. More assistant coaches.
That's really all that matters about this spring is the new assistant hires.
Yeah, how good are they? Yeah.
Were they terrible hires? Will we be pointing out just a few months from now what terrible, stupid hires they were? They don't know what they're doing. They don't understand the scheme, those sorts of things. Yeah.
Oh my gosh. That is so funny. Let's talk about this. So the spring game is gone.
Yeah.
I think you and I hit it a little bit on when you filled in for John on Friday, and our reaction was kind of like, wow, it's interesting that nobody seems to care and nobody's angry. And then it becomes this weird national story over the course of a few days, because Rhule speaks on Saturday and talks about how he doesn't want tampering to happen.
Which that's not the man. I know that was how he answered the question, but that's not why it's gone.
I don't think so either.
It's that. I mean, I guess that factored into it, but that's definitely not why it's gone. Come on.
Yeah, it's not. I'm guessing it is one of the reasons. I think it is a reason, but it is not the reason. I think it was.
But that could have happened listen, people forget that transfers happened before 3 years ago.
Yeah,
okay?
Exactly.
In
fairness to Rhule, it is easier now, and you don't have to sit out. So, it is. It's easier now than it was
You didn't even
before.
have to sit. You still didn't have to. I mean, Tristan Gebbia didn't sit out. I mean, come on. That.
Fair.
That was not. Transfers were not just invented. So that was a.
Transfers were not just invented. So why?
People act like nobody transferred before 2021.
Yeah, that's a good point.
They did. And yes, there were some who sat out, but that wasn't even always. I mean, that didn't happen. There were plenty of ways.
Until about a decade ago-ish, you always had to sit out, and then it completely changed. And
but
now
people are forgetting that 10-year period,
Yeah. So why did he say it then, do you think? Why
That's
say
a great
that
question.
instead of any of the other things? Because I'll offer a theory unless you have one.
No, go ahead. I want to hear yours.
My theory. And Mitch Sherman wrote about this. Mitch mentioned the size of the roster, even though you don't have to be down to the 105 until the season begins.
A huge reason, but yes.
So he mentioned that, but here is what D'Lo. Why does he say half the shit he says? All right, so here's why I think though he mentioned it. It's because Mitch talked about the salaries that these players are making, and I don't think Rhule wants to say, yeah, we don't want to put our. And he's not going to say the numbers, right? But let's just say, for example, We don't want to put our $1 million quarterback out there on the field and have something stupid happen. We don't want to put our $500,000 wide receiver out there and he tears his ACL in a pretend football game. Even though you can get hurt in practice, you can always get hurt. I was going to say,
they're doing live scrimmaging in practice.
Yeah, but I just think there is something about that stage. John and I talked about it on Monday. You can control a practice. You can control a scrimmage. You can't totally control a spring game because it's in front of many. So you don't buy that it's that? You don't buy the money component of it?
Honestly, it's better than it is more believable than what he said still.
And for the record, because Matt says it matters because they get paid, but not when they didn't get paid, it doesn't pass the smell test. I don't think he wanted to say it because I think it's true, and he's not going to mention player salaries because then everyone picks on the players. Everyone immediately gets angry at the players. So if he's like, look, we worry about our players that make money getting hurt, because if that's what he really thinks, because that's what I think is going on, people get mad because they don't like the idea of college players making money still.
Let me ask you this. Do you think there were guys in last year's spring game that there was no other video on from actual games, there was no film on from actual games, that people saw perform in the spring game, and they were like, okay, we are now going after him in the transfer market?
Did they lose any players after the spring game last year?
I was trying to remember. Well, yeah, they did. They lost. Who did they lose? Yeah, there were some after the spring game, but like nobody. Like, I don't know. I just don't buy that it was people where it was like, oh, they had such an amazing spring game that now they're in on them and they weren't before. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I don't know. We're Nebraska spring transfers last year. I don't know.
See, I don't know if they had. Stib says, wouldn't they have always thought that? It's not his money. He wouldn't want his 5-star getting hurt, whether it costs $1 million or not. That's a great point. Dave says, there's no single reason, but all the minor valid reasons are enough in the aggregate. And you know what? Maybe that is. Maybe it's not one thing. It's like 5 things. And if you add 5 things up enough,
I believe that.
I mean,
I think roster size makes a lot of sense to me. All of them make a little sense.
Yeah.
But I'm still, I'll reiterate what I said on your show when we did that, Josh, is I'm surprised that the athletic department, with as tightly as they hold traditions and things, I think the spring game is one of those things that Nebraska fans take specific pride in because they do it differently than almost everyone else. They fill it. They fill that stadium for the most part, and they buy tickets, and you look at Iowa, and it doesn't look anything like it. And you look at whomever, and it doesn't. And it's almost like its own little mini version of the sellout streak, which we know how closely that is held by the athletic department to keep the sellout streak going. Yet for this one, they didn't like really go to war to keep it. I don't know. That to me, that's really surprising and really odd to me.
Well, let me proffer another theory then. Coaches don't want to do the spring game in general across the country. They're finally just ripping the Band-Aid off, and they're using weird excuses to do so. This is just that they've wanted to do it.
Why the hell not, though? I mean, it's not that – it can't be that different than a scrimmage practice, right?
But people are there. Dude, if coaches didn't have to play games in front of people and they could just do everything behind the scenes, they would. They don't like their secrets being out.
I would have believed more if he said – they're looking at our formations and our plays than they are.
See, but that would be BS because it's all vanilla, nothingness on offense and defense. Oh, yeah. Yeah. Yeah, I think the coaches have been wanting to get rid of the spring game for years, and now they finally have an athletic director that will allow it to happen, and they're like, all right, see you later. It's never coming back now, too. They're never going to bring back this.
For the record, I don't personally care at all. Like, I'm not going to shed a tear. I would have in a previous point in my life, but I'm not anymore. I'm just surprised they did. I think they're. I don't know. What do you think has there not been pushback like you thought there would be?
Nothing. I didn't think there was going to be blowback. I don't think anybody cares anymore. I think the spring game turned into such a farce in recent years. But people, Jack, got so down on this thing at the very end that they just could not stand it anymore. And so I think that's what happened. And I think now people are like, all right, see you later, spring game. I'm not going to miss you at all. Yeah, D'Lo says it. Nebraska won't be the only team losing the spring game. They won't be. And I formation, and you know what? This is why my theory now has completely changed to this. Because he says An ACL tear can just as easily happen in practice or a hidden scrimmage. It definitely can. And so that's why I've changed my theory to this. They just wanted to get rid of it, and they're able to now use all these other excuses of the modern era of college football. And soon enough, other schools are going to follow, and these things will die.
Plus, he's probably mad about tampering anyway, and that way he can still get a dig in about that.
Exactly. He loves talking about tampering. He loves getting on a soapbox for a variety of things. And so now here we are.
Yeah, but it will be interesting to see how it affects off-season, discussion. Having not really seen, how much more are you going to be parsing those highlight videos that they put out, right? Of the, spring scrimmage day, that kind of thing.
Are you? So you keep saying this. You're surprised that there has not been that type of reaction. What explains that? Because you're right. Like,
I don't know, man.
Imagine if they got rid of this a decade ago. People would lose their mind.
I'm using you because I haven't talked to enough people to know what the reaction has been.
Yeah.
So I am surprised. I don't know why it is, because people were still coming, right? People still looked forward to it. I think that's out there. I don't know. Maybe if you're not hearing it, I'm not sure. Maybe you have the demographic of your audience is not the ones who would be primarily aggrieved by this, but I'm really surprised they're not people super mad about this.
Yeah, and they're not. From what I've heard from my audience, I certainly haven't seen any frustration in here. Matt says most people don't know it's been canceled. That's a good point.
That's also
it should be quite the
great
sicko.
Point.
Yeah.
That's true. It hasn't been. Yeah, I don't know. Like, I'm not sure how everybody gets their information. We haven't talked about it on my show.
Really?
Like once, because it wasn't like super. It was a weird story because it didn't come down. I think Dan had said something about it, but it was sort of gray in terms of what he said.
Yeah.
So I think whoever said that is actually onto something too.
Yeah, that's a good point. All right. Well, Jack, in 38 seconds, the Volleyball State boys will be talking to John Cook. We hope everyone, as we say goodbye, that they hop on and check that out. Also, check your podcast feeds. If you have the secret RSS feed that your subscription gets you, it will go up immediately there. It will
nice. We're putting it on there. Very nice.
Oh, yeah. We'll
Very
also
nice.
be live in the Volleyball State podcast feed as well, if you would rather just listen. But we would certainly love you to go on over to the YouTube channel, to give it a like and to give it a subscribe. If you haven't already, we have gained many more subscribers over the last week. It has been insane as we have welcomed the guys from the Volleyball State pod. So I'm excited to check this one out.
What a get. It's live now. Oops, it's working now. I just clicked on it. Jeez.
There we go.
About blew my ears out.
Classic Jack. So there you go.
It's got some kind of a countdown at the beginning. Who did that?
I said that was me. I said it as a premiere. So
okay. It's counting down with it less than 2 minutes now.
So go. You can go check that out after we log off. Also, a reminder coming up tomorrow night, Jack, at 9:30, the watch party. Nebraska, not versus Wisconsin, versus Washington. Everybody knows this. Nobody had any doubts about who they're playing, but they're playing Washington tomorrow night. It'll be Jack, it'll be Caleb, it'll be Bigelow watching the game, having a lovely, lovely time. We'll have a link for you very, very
So if you are staying up late, get the kids to bed. If you're get your spouse up or put your spouse to bed, whichever type of Nebraska basketball fan they are. Get some popcorn, get the beverage of your choice, turn the TV on, get synced up with us, and then turn the volume down and turn us up because it's like Manning cast, but it's going to be wild with Caleb and Bigelow and me. So I do not know what to expect with the three of us. What I'm worried about is talking 90% of the time.
Wow.
That's my biggest stressor right now.
Yeah, because Caleb will be whispering.
Caleb's going to be whispering because his wife's in bed. Yeah, and Bigelow, he might.
He'll be taking notes. He'll be taking notes, getting ready to do all of his note taking.
But, it wouldn't be the worst thing just to watch it with me talking the whole time either. So,
by the way, we're going to have some announcements coming up over the next few weeks. Jack is taking an impromptu vacation. So we're going to be doing, should we mention what we're doing, Jack, for the end of next week? For Valentine's Day?
Let's do it. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, please. Yes.
We don't have the exact name on it yet. We're going to do a special Valentine's night show next Friday. Spend your Valentine's Day with us. Riss will be working. We don't celebrate Valentine's Day. Jacket will be home. His family
My
will
wife's
probably
out
be
of
asleep.
town, but we wouldn't do anything anyway.
So we're going to get dressed up, and we're going to have a date night together with you inside of the I-80 Club. We would love to have you here. We're also going to do it publicly, so it'll be a public show. Come hang out with us next Friday night. That is going to take place of the Saturday show, so no Saturday show on the 15th, and that's because
I'm going to Arizona.
Yeah, because Jack's going to Arizona. And then, because of that, the next week when Jack's out of town, Jack asked earlier, Josh, did you watch the Nebraska game? I think I'll be filling in on After Nebrasketball. I don't know if Caleb and Bigelow know this, but I will be your host for After Nebrasketball with those guys. I-80 Club.
Wait, you're going to do it with them? I didn't even know that. That was for sure happening.
Well, it's not. I just didn't.
I said you didn't have to. They were going to do it.
I'm happy to do it. I want to do the show. It seems like a fun show. People are always like, Josh, do you ever talk about Nebraska basketball? Well,
no,
here's your chance.
I knew you said you would. I didn't think you were going to. Okay.
Yeah, I want to do that. That sounds fun. So we'll do that in a couple of weeks as well.
I-80 Club is great.
I-80 Club is absolutely awesome.
Yeah,
Absolutely awesome.
We got a name.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm excited. I'm excited.
Yeah. So yeah, that's what we got coming up inside of the I-80 Club over the next
Will any of us get late? No, but I might do a DJ set afterwards. So
there we go.
Basically the same for you, Stibbs.
Oh, Jordan, this will be my first Valentine's Day date. Happy to have you spend it with us. So we'll have many links. We'll have the link for the watch party coming up within the next couple of hours, I'm guessing. If not, it'll be available tomorrow. So the rest of the week, watch party tomorrow night. Well, right now, the interview with John Cook is on the YouTube
John
page.
Cook now. Go right to that.
When we say goodbye, go hop over there. Go check that out.
Okay.
Watch party tomorrow. Brunch on Friday. Coffee on Saturday. A Super Bowl preview with Schaefer and I at 11 a.m. on Sunday morning.
Let's go.
And then you guys on After Nebrasketball.
We're After Nebrasketball.
Schaefer and I will also have a recap of the Super Bowl next Monday. So lots of – and then more volleyball state stuff as we lock down their schedule. And
so after Nebrasketball, they play on Sunday again? Is that right?
They play Sunday afternoon.
Sunday.
Or late morning, early afternoon.
Okay, so on Super Sunday, we'll have After Nebrasketball. You and Schaefer will do one Sunday. You'll do one Monday, right?
Yep.
And then we will be back after that on, if we're going to next week.
I believe we're on Wednesday again.
We are on Wednesday as normal for I-80 Live. And then 2 nights after that, the I-80 Club Valentine's Day, I-80 Club.
I-80 Club.
And then I am going to hopefully have a DJ set later that night.
Day fight. Is that it? Hashtag sarcasm. Yeah.
Dude, seriously.
Tell your friends to subscribe.
How about the freaking content, baby?
Yeah, tell your friends to subscribe. We would love to have them. All right. Jack, have a great night. Get some rest. You got many hours of talking tomorrow. Many hours of talking tomorrow.
I do. I might have to have an evening nap tomorrow.
Not a bad idea. Not a bad idea. All right. He's Jack. I'm Josh. Thank you so much for joining us tonight inside of the I-80 Club. Hop on over to the video as the Volleyball State guys talk to John Cook. We will talk to you tomorrow night for the watch party. Later.